You have a Chromebook in front of you. Look it up. Tell me what it means.
Unconventional, slightly strange.
Unconventional, strange. Okay, so look at how it's used here specifically. They talk about this idea of George throws it out first. He says, don't be so proud of yourself, Jenny, just because you look eccentric. And then she counters. Of course, this is her hair and her dress. How can something that's natural be eccentric? Well, if it's natural, we're simply saying it's the way it is, right? But does that necessarily make it conventional? Your fingernails grow all the time, right? That is natural. Our society teaches us that we trim them, we cut them, we have them there. If you let your fingernails continue to grow like the guy in the Ripley's book where they start to fold in, you're eccentric, but you could make the case that you're natural. This is the way it's supposed to be. Beneath is looking at this from the perspective of her hair. He's trying to point out girl, you're changed. Stop trying to pass it off here because you want to be weird. And she's trying to make the argument. I'm not being weird. I'm being natural. And so where it comes to is George's line. That's what being eccentric means, being natural. No, it doesn't. It means being different, strange, odd. That's why there's the laugh that George gets. To him, he is a civilized kind of, man of society. He's rich. He's a snob. So he sees everything as trimmed, as manicured, as clean, not natural. Then we throw back this word assimilation again. Beneath is looking at this in terms of George's ideas. If he thinks that everything conventional, it's like it's assimilationist. It's not letting us be who we are. Where it really comes to is showing the difference with Ruth. And we're going to get there. Notice that she has to ask, hey, will someone please define this for me? What is George's definition involve?
Calling people Uncle Toms.
Okay, now this is another term that we might need a little bit of definition from. I really don't know what kind of work they did with you in history class. Anybody familiar with this term being thrown out that way? Reggie, can you explain it?
It's like a black person Am I on the right?
You're on the right path. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a black person regulating other black people being racist back to them.
Kind of. What specifically are they usually trying to regulate them based on? You could look at it that way. Usually it deals with trying to be white or trying to cater to white people if you're called an Uncle Tom. Like you're trying to fit in too much. So notice that George is the one that says it's a college girl's way of calling somebody an Uncle Tom. Remember, he shows up in a sweater with a jacket over it. They're going to go to the theater. He's cultured. And so he's very aware that it's like, hey, don't call me. Don't come at me like I'm some kind of Uncle Tom for telling you your hair looks eccentric and weird. Like, no. And then he starts to talk. He uses this as his way to talk about how Benita sees her heritage. Look at how he throws out all these ideas of what African Americans view this African heritage as. It's a lot of stereotypes. People living in grass huts, singing spirituals, doing all of this stuff. Now, any culture can be brought down to simple stereotypes. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a racial thing either. Every culture can go that way. So I'm part Italian. Think about things that people always associate and assume about Italian people. Warriors.
Right.
I guess Romans.
Yeah.
Usually it comes down to you all eat pasta, you're all greasy, you slick your hair back, you're all in the mafia. I'm also part Irish. Catholics, drunks, you have all the rest of it. Every culture can be reduced down to stereotypes. Notice that George has his moment here to reduce beneath this whole idea here to stereotypes. How does she react? Aggressive. Notice that she's upset and she's angry. So if we're looking at her trying to figure out which guy does she like more, who's she probably leaning heavier towards? This way. Now she's still going to go on this date with him, but we see that things are changing and different. We're developing her character. She's searching for that identity. And sometimes you realize what you are by being put in situations that you don't fit into. And you realize what you're not. And so we're going to take her out for a second, and Ruth is going to talk to George. And we're really going to see that difference in culture and society between the two here.
Have a seat, George. It's warm, ain't it? I mean, for September. But just like they say about Chicago weather, if it's too hot or cold, just wait a minute and it'll change. Everybody says it's got something to do with them bombs and things they keep setting off. Would you like a nice cold beer?
No, thank you. I don't care for beer. I hope she hurries up.
What time is the show?
Well, it's an 8:30 curtain. That's just Chicago, though. In New York, standard curtain time is 8:40.
Oh, well, you get to New York a lot?
A few times a year.
Oh, that's nice. I've never been to New York.
New York ain't got nothing Chicago ain't. Just a bunch of hustling people all squeezed up together being Eastern.
Oh, you've been?
Plenty of time.
Walter Lee Young.
Plenty. Well, we got to drink in this house. Why don't you offer this man some refreshments? They don't know how to entertain in this house, man.
Thank you. I don't care for anything.
Where's Mama?
She ain't come back yet.
Okay. So notice that we're starting to show the difference between their cultures. And we do it through two things. One, this conversation about the theater. Notice that George likes to show off how much he knows. When they talk about standard curtain times and all that, who cares? But to him, oh, that's important. These are people that don't go to the theater. We show the difference as well right here. Beer is a very different thing anymore than it used to be. We live in an age where there are tons of different breweries and lots of different varieties, and beer has this certain cool factor to it. Pre 1970s, beer was like what poor people drank. It was simple. There wasn't a whole lot of variety. And so when he's like, I don't drink beer, it's like if you went to somebody's house and they're like, hey, sorry, our water got turned off, but we have some water in the toilet tank. Do you want that? And you're like, no, I don't drink toilet water. Gross. That's the way he reacts to this. But notice what happens when Walter comes back in. He automatically offers it again. He cracks one open. To him, it is comfort. It is what he knows. Now, if you look at the next line, this is important, and I want to set this before we hear it. Walter takes a second once he cracks that beer, and he looks at George, and you notice your stage directions tell you that he's going to look at him head to toe. And this is our chance where we see how he's dressed. That sweater, that jacket, the pants, but especially he focuses on the shoes. They say that he's wearing white leather shoes. Okay, Reggie, you have white shoes on. Caesar, you have white shoes on. How careful do you have to be walking around with white sneakers on? Is it something that catches in your head when you're walking around and you don't think about it at all? Do you clean them though? That's the thing. Think about it. I don't know that I clean my sneakers regularly, but I bet if I had white sneakers, I'd be cleaning them regularly. It takes a certain confidence to wear white shoes. It takes a certain belief that you're not going to get dirty to wear white shoes. So Walter looks at him and he's going to throw out this word. Now, of course, we have a very particular ideal of the word, and Walter means exactly what we know it means now when he says it to him. and he's going to use it in that aggressive way to try to call him out and make fun of him here. And so it is intentional as he's using this phrase, as he's throwing it out. He wants to make fun of him. He wants to belittle him. And we're going to see this become sort of a thing between the two of them.
Why don't you college boys wear them faggoty looking white shoes?
Walter Lee,
White shoes is cold as it is.
you have to excuse him.
No, he don't. What you always excusing me for? I'll excuse myself when I needs to be excused. They look funny as hell. Bad as the black knee socks Benita wears out of here all the time.
It's the college style.
Our style hell. Look like she got burnt legs or something.
Walter.
How's your old man making out? I understand that you all gonna night at the big hotel on the drive. True boo. Your old man is all right, man. I mean, he knows how to operate. You know what I mean? I mean, he thinks big. You know what I mean? But I think it's kind of running out of ideas now. I'd like to talk to him. Listen, man, I got some plans that could turn this city upside down. I mean, I think like he does. Big, invest big, gamble big, hell, lose big if you have to. You know what I mean? It's hard to find a man on this whole South Side who understands my kind of thinking. You dig? Me and you ought to sit down and talk sometimes, man. Man, I got me some ideas.
Yeah, sometimes we'll have to do that, Walter.
Okay. Tell me some differences between George and Walter.
One grew up rich, one grew up poor.
Economics. One's rich, one's poor. You know, we said the beer thing kind of helps to show that difference between the two. What else?
Their age is different.
Their age. Remember, it's probably like 10 years between the two of them, maybe. What else?
Walter's really more all out,
He's what?
more all out, like he's like throwing out.
Do you mean like all out in terms of his comfort? Like he's not reserved, he's not kind of going back, he's more natural?
Yeah.
Okay. How about success? Think about what they're talking about here. Walter's asking about George's old man, but talking about doing deals and doing all this. Walter have any kind of place to talk about doing deals? No. But he thinks, hey, I can get George in on this. We can do. What about education? And there's one word here that I want to focus on. At the end of this little bit that Walter talks through, he says, me and you ought to sit down and talk sometimes. Is that the right word to use? No, because there's no S on it. Sometime, singular. Sometimes, not here. Well, look at what George says. Now, don't get confused. Don't be like, oh, well, but George uses it too, so it must be right. George is making fun of him. You know when somebody uses a word that's not correct when they're talking to you and you almost use it back to them to mock them? Like they say something like, hey, let's go to the library. And you're like, yeah, how about we go to the strawberry too? And it takes them a second to usually catch up and they're like, oh, okay, I see what's up. I need you to see that that's what George is doing here. He's like, yeah, Walter, me and you sometimes ought to do that. He's not just bored. He's not just saying it. He's also trying to be pointed here. Like, all right, you want to make fun of my shoes? Fine. Want to make fun of this? It's going to set Walter off. And you're going to notice he's going to get angry and he's going to push it. And a lot of these differences are going to come up in what he has to say.
Yeah. Well, when you get the time, man, I know you a busy little boy.
Walter, please.
I know ain't nothing in this world is Busy as you colored college boys with your fraternity pins and white shoes.
Oh, Walter.
Yeah, I see y'all all the time with the books tucked under your arms, going to your closets. And for what? The hell you learning over there, man? Filling up your heads with the sociology and the psychology. They teach you how to be a man, how to take over and run this world. They teach you how to run a rubber plantation or steel mill. No, just to talk proper and read books and wear them faggoty looking white shoes.
Yo, all whacked out with bitterness, man.
And you, ain't you bitter? Ain't you just about had it yet? Don't you see those stars gleaming? And you can't reach out and grab. You happy? You contented son of a bitch. You happy? See, you got it made. Bitter? Man, I'm a volcano. Bitter? Man, I'm a giant surrounded by ants. Ants who can't even understand what it is the giant is talking
Oh,
about.
Walter, ain't you with nobody?
No! Because ain't nobody with me. Not even my own mother.
Walter, that's a terrible thing to say.
Well, hey, Benny, you look great.
What's the matter with your head?
I cut it off, brother.
Well, I be damned. So that's what they mean by the African bush.
Ha ha. Let's go, George.
You know something? I like it. Oh, it's sharp. I mean, it really is.
Yes, I think so too.
Oh, no. You leave yours alone, baby. You might turn out to have a pin-shaped head or something.
See you later.
Have a nice time.
Thanks. Good night. Good night, Prometheus.
Okay. So let's look at Walter's response here. Do you notice his growing level of agitation and anger? Remember, he's drunk, so we have that. But we also have everything from the whole day coming up again. He uses two metaphors to describe himself and how he feels. Did you catch them? Yeah, first he calls himself, or second, he calls himself a giant surrounded by ants to talk about how he views himself. I've got these ideas, I've got these dreams. I'm like a giant. Nobody around me is to my size. They're all smaller. Did you catch the second one? How he talks about bitterness? I'm a volcano. I'm so bitter with everything, man. I'm just gonna explode. And we see this difference come out because Walter's clear on, don't you have anything you want that you can't grab? George doesn't. Remember, he's rich. He's always been rich. And so Walter's trying to talk about his frustrations with somebody that has no way to know what it's like. Then we get them out. And as they're going, George decides to take one final shot at him. All right, you want to make fun of me for being smart? You want to make fun of me for going to college? All right, I'm going to call you something I know you have no way of knowing. Good night, Prometheus. Anybody know anything about Prometheus? Yes, absolutely. Look it up. You got a Chromebook in front of you. Well, okay, there's the movie too. Yes. Prometheus is one of the old gods, so he was larger. Remember, all the Titans get locked up then in the underworld in Tartarus once they're overthrown. He's one of those. He's the guy who brought fire down the Mount Olympus to the people. And to be punished for that, he was chained to a rock for all of eternity. A vulture came and ate out his liver every day. So notice here, Walter wants to talk about, I'm a giant surrounded by ants. So he turns around and he's like, all right, fine. Good night, Prometheus. Make fun of him. Oh, yeah, nobody gets you. You're going to notice that when he leaves, both Walter and Ruth are like, who the hell's Prometheus? See, he can't even insult you like a man. He's going to totally turn this. They're going to have a moment where they sort of laugh together and then realize, oh, wait, you want to go get an abortion and kill our child. Yeah, I'm not happy with you. And we're going to bring their conflict back in. They're going to get a chance to talk, but it ain't going to be for very long because we're going to bring Mama back.
Who is Prometheus?
I don't know, honey. You don't worry about it.
See there? They get to a point where they can't even insult you man to man. They got to go and talk about something ain't nobody never even heard of.
How do you know it was an insult? Maybe Prometheus is a nice fellow.
Prometheus, I bet there ain't even no such thing. I bet that simple-minded clown.
Walter.
Don't start.
Start what?
You're nagging. Where was I? Who was I with? How much money did I spend?
Walter Lee, why don't we just try and talk about it?
I've been out talking with people who understand me, people who care about the things that I got on my mind.
I guess that means people like Willie Harris.
Yes, people like Willie Harris.
Well, why don't y'all just hurry up and go into the banking business and stop talking about it?
Why? You want to know why? Because we all tied up in a race of people that don't know how to do nothing but moan and pray and have babies.
Oh, Walter. Honey, why can't you stop fighting me?
Who's fighting you? Who even cares about you?
Yeah, you hear the audience react and notice your stage directions need to be there. Walter goes too far. Remember, he's drunk. He's not thinking. He's bitter. He's saying these pieces. His attitude's going to start to climb down. But notice that Ruth doesn't give in to his bitterness. She doesn't do it. She's going to try to be supportive.
I guess I might as well go on to bed. I don't know where we lost it, but we have. I'm sorry about this new baby, Walter. I guess maybe I better go on and do what I started. I guess I just didn't realize how bad things was with us. I guess I just didn't realize. You want some hot milk?
Hot milk.
Yes, hot milk.
Why hot milk?
Because after all that liquor, you ought to have something hot in your stomach.
I don't want no milk.
You want some coffee there?
No, I don't want no coffee. I don't want nothing hot to drink. Why are you always trying to give me something to eat?
What else I got to give you, Walter Lee Younger?
Baby, it's been rough, ain't it? I guess between two people, they ain't never as much understanding as folks generally think there is. I mean, like between me and you, how we gets to a place where we're scared to talk softness to each other. Why you think it gotta be like that? What is it that gets into people ought to be close?
I don't know, honey. I think about it a lot.
On account of you and me, you mean. The way something's come down between us.
There ain't so much between us, Walter. Not when you come to me and try to talk to me, try to be with me a little even.
Sometimes I don't even know how to try.
Walter,
Yes.
honey, life don't have to be like this. I mean, sometimes people can do things so that things are better. You remember how we used to talk when Travis was born? About the way we was going to live and the kind of house. But it's all starting to slip away from us.
Okay, so before we bring Mama in, notice that we're developing this conflict. Have they decided to not have this baby?
No.
No. Have they decided to have this baby? No. But we're giving them a chance to talk. We're going to further develop Walter's conflict with his mother here. Notice that when she comes in, he tries to take the high road. He wants to be the one that's in charge, but he's not. It's not going to work.
Oh. Mama, where have you been?
My, them steps is getting longer and longer. How you feeling this evening, Ruth?
Mama, where have you been all day?
Ruth, where's Travis?
I'll let him go out and he ain't come back yet. Oh, boy, is he gonna get it.
Mama,
Yes, son.
where did you go this afternoon?
I went downtown to tend to some business that I had to tend to.
What kind of business?
You know better than to question me like a child, brother.
Where were you, Mama? Mama, you didn't do something crazy. But that money, something crazy.
No, Mama, I'm nothing. You gonna get it, boy. Get in that bedroom and get yourself ready. But
Why don't you never let the child explain itself?
keep out of it, Lena. 1,000 times I've told you not to go off like that.
Well, at least let me tell you something. I want him to be the first one to hear. Come here, baby. Travis, you know that money we got in the mail this morning?
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you think your grandmama gone and done with that money?
I don't know, Grandmama.
She went and she bought you a house.
Okay, you see the stage direction. You heard the sound. How does Walter react to this news? Furious. And it's sudden. There's a hole in the wall over there by the bookshelf. You probably can't see it anymore. I think it's covered up. I literally put a hole in the wall one year accidentally because I threw a chair to show what this is like. Like what Walter does, I just threw it at the wall and it totally put a hole in the wall. But I know. Well, I wanted to illustrate how he explodes here. And it caught everybody off guard. And they were just like, right. It's got to be sudden. And notice that Mama chooses to tell Travis first. Not Walter, Travis. And we're going to unpack why here as we continue. But we're going to let this go a little bit.
Walter,
You glad about the house? It's gonna be yours when you get to be the man.
yes, sir. I always wanted to live in a house.
All right. Give me some sugar then. Now, when you say your prayers tonight, you thank God and your grandfather, because it was him who gave you the house in his will.
Now you get out of here. Get ready for your beating. Oh, Mama, oh, gee. No, get on in there. Yes, ma'am. So you went and did it.
Yes, I did.
Praise God. Oh, please, honey. Walter, let me be glad. You be glad too. Oh, Walter, a home. A home. Where is it? How big is it? How much is it going to cost?
Well,
When are we moving?
first of the month.
Praise God.
It's a nice house too, Walter. 3 bedrooms, nice big one for you and Ruth. Me and Benita still have to share our room, but Travis has one of his own. And I figures if the new baby is a boy, we could get one of them double-decker outfits. And there's a yard with a little patch of dirt where I could maybe get to grow me a few flowers. And a nice big basement. And
Walter, honey, be glad.
Cause I don't want to make it sound fancier than it is. It's just a plain little old house, but it's built good and solid, and it will be ours. Walter Lee, it makes a difference in a man when he can walk on floors that belongs to him.
Where is it?
Well, it's out there in Claiborne Park.
Okay, now look at your stage directions. Why do you think Mama is frightened? Why do you think that Ruth then fades away her happiness? And why do you think Walter turns around to look at her finally?
I think it's like a 1 year.
Uh-huh. So they're not excited, but Walter sees an opportunity finally to get at her. Remember, he's trying like a little petulant child to not be happy about good news. So here's something that he can finally stick something at and go, look, you screwed up. Now she's going to keep talking. We're going to get a long speech if you look a little ahead from Ruth. This is another spot where you want to pay really close attention to the stage directions because her movements in the stage directions as she talks are really important to understanding how she's processing.
Where?
406 Claiborne Street, Claiborne Park.
Clyburn Park. Mama, there ain't no colored people living in Clyburn Park.
Well, there's gonna be some there now.
So that's the peace and comfort you went out and bought for us today.
Son, I just tried to find the nicest place for the least amount of money for my family.
Well, of course, I ain't never been afraid no crackers, mind you, but Wasn't there no other houses nowhere?
Them houses they put up for colored in them areas way out all seem to cost twice as much as other houses. I did the best I could.
Well, all I can say is if this is my time in life, my time to say goodbye to these goddamn crack walls and these Martian roaches and this cramped little closet, which ain't now, there never will be no kitchen, that I don't say it loud and good. Hallelujah and goodbye, Mistress. I don't never want to see your ugly face again. Lena,
Yes, honey.
is there a whole lot of sunlight?
Yes, child. There's a whole lot of sunlight.
I guess I better go see about Travis. Lord, I sure don't feel like whipping nobody today.
Okay, really quickly. We get this news, white neighborhood. Ah! But as they process, what do you notice about Ruth's movements in the stage directions as she's talking about this new opportunity? Huh? So the stage directions in that whole bunch of lines have her move her arms all over the place, correct? Throw them here, throw them there, seemingly destroying the apartment all around her until they end up where? Do they have it in your copy? No? No. Oh, well, that's good. Here in this copy, there it comes. Her hands end up here. Because it's the first time that she can accept that there's a possibility that they could keep this child. Now, she says it verbally, even if the stage directions aren't really great in your copy, because she talks about sunlight. She says, is there a whole lot of sunlight out there? Now, what is Mama interested in? Why does she want a house? Flower bed. What do flowers need to survive? Sunlight. Life, opportunity, a chance. Yes, there's lots of sunlight there. Now, Mama's going to turn to Walter as Ruth leaves. She's going to implore him, and Walter's going to be a little sad sacky because Mama has claimed the head of household. She has made a decision that impacts all of them without consulting Walter, without giving him a chance, and she has cut out the liquor store from under him. And so he's going to be a little mopey here, and he's going to try to put the blame on her as we end the scene.
Son, you understand what I done, don't you? I just seen my family falling apart today. Just falling to pieces in front of my eyes. We couldn't have gone on like we was today. We was going backwards instead of forwards, talking about killing babies and wishing each other was dead. When it gets like that in life, you just got to do something different. Push on out and do something bigger. I wish you'd say something, son. I wish you'd say how deep inside you think I done the right thing.
What you need me to say you done right for? You the head of this family. You run our lives like you want to. It was your money, and you did what you wanted with it. So what you need for me to say it was all right for? So you butchered up a dream of mine. You, who always talking about your children's dreams.
Walter Lee.
All right, so as we end scene one, whose words come back through Walter's bitterness? Mama's, but specifically Big Walter's. Remember we had that quote that we said kind of drives the whole play, this idea of, God seems fit to give the black man nothing but dreams, but he gave his children to make those dreams seem worthwhile. Those words come back to us here as Walter throws them in Mama's face to make the point about, hey, you've clearly taken charge. I just live here. It's going to affect where we go as we move onwards into scene two. We're going to see that change in Walter as we continue the development. So we're going to stop there for today.